Hello, welcome to this week's tutorial. My name is Jamie, and this week we're going to look at some tips to get your objects rendered. Got any characters running around or anything like that. This isn't really for a sort of a final render for your production. This is for presentation of a model or a character moving. So you can sort of add it to your demo reel or something like that. So yeah, I suppose we'll get straight into it. The first tip is the invisible ground plane, and this sort of allows you to have shadows in a like coming off an object, and not have a square sort of thing coming off the background in the sort of edge of the scene on the horizon. So I'll just get rid of that. And add in a plane, just scale it up, and then I will add in a monkey, just for the sake of something to look at. So that's there. So it's smooth and a couple of subdivisions on there. So now at the moment we've got a monkey that looks like that, and you can see here we've got this sort of line going through the background that is very nice to look at. So we select the plane, and then just in the materials, add a new material to it. And what you want to do is go to the shadow box here, open that up, and just set it to shadows only. And what this does is it just doesn't render the actual polygon of the plane, it just renders the shadows that the plane casts and receives. So that's good. So render that, and then you can see that annoying lines in the background are gone, and it just looks like a monkey sitting on the world. And then with that tip, you want to then go into the world and do something about the colour of the world. So if you just want a plain background, you can go to this box here, sort of choose a colour. Sort of want a yellowish colour going on there, that looks alright. But you may want to have something a bit more dynamic, a bit nicer, so we'll go to blend sky, and this adds a zenith colour, which as you can see here, the grey colour at the top, it creates a sort of a gradient effect for the world. So if I just start there, it's already sort of just looking a bit smoother and nicer, and then you can go in here and add it to be any colour that you want. It's generally a good idea to sort of keep the colours close. So you get that sort of effect going on. That looks alright. I suppose the main lighting tip would be the 3-point lighting setup, which is fairly common knowledge, but you may not know about it. Basically all it is you've got 3 lights that cast onto your object, and sort of just the goal is to light it evenly, but still bring out the details in the model a bit. I've found it's best to do this with area lights. They've given me some of the best results, and I'll just quickly set this up. It probably won't be the best looking 3-point setup. Because it does depend on, you're seeing the size of everything and all that. So it's best to sort of turn the distance down on the area light and get an idea of how intense it's going to be. So that's sort of starting to look alright to me. That sort of intensity. I'll just Alt R to clear the default rotation on that. And you generally want, I believe, one light to be coming from about the same direction as the camera, and this is sort of your main light, so that shows you the entire object and stuff. And this is probably the light you're going to have shadows on. You can also add a light using this button here. You can just set it to be only shadows, so only the shadows from that light are rendered. Sort of the same way with the plane. so you can sort of control the shadows with just one light specifically if you want. But it's fine to have it on just your main light here. Then you generally want a fill light in sort of the opposite direction. And I'll turn shadows off on that. And what this does is sort of fills in the offside of the object. So the side that's the first light's coming in from this direction and lighting everything up. And so the fill light's just coming in here and sort of more evenly lighting everything up. I probably want to turn that light down a bit, I'll say 0.5. So yeah, that's a bit smoother and stuff, and you can still see some of the details in the monkey's head. And the third light is the rim light, which sort of generally you want to just sort of add this highlight along the edge here with this light. So just sort of a matter of figuring out the position of where it needs to be. So got a bit of a specular highlight down there. That might do for me for now. Just put that there. Yeah, that looks okay. So we've got that there. Of course, you want to, with the shadows, you want to turn up the samples and stuff. It gives you some of the shadows. Of course, the more you turn up these samples, the longer it takes to render, as you can see. But you do get a smoother shadow. And I believe you can just turn down. Very well. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't make a lot of difference. So just turn up the samples to get sort of smoother shadows. You can possibly play with all these settings here. Yeah, that's just a sort of a preference thing with the shadows. Try not to have the shadows sort of stretching out with an odd angle. So that sort of angle is fine for this light to get a shadow on the ground, making it look okay. So now I'm just going to move these lights to another layer. And we're going to play with the environment lighting, which is under the world. All these here are the settings to play with. Generally just turn it all on. There. And you'll find you get this sort of fairly even lighting coming around from the world. This is sort of a quick and dirty way to get some lighting in without having to mess with lights. You might want to turn down the G a bit, say 0.75, so it's a bit less bright. If you make it sky color, it also takes these colors here and sort of helps to blend it into the actual world. But you probably don't want indirect lighting on. That doesn't appear to. You turn the proximity gather on and then you do this, and that starts to make things look nice and smooth, but as you turn these bounces up, it's going to start getting quite a lot to calculate at render time. I've found, I think, if you turn the fall off here on, and sort of play with these settings here, you can start to get things smooth like that. But there is shadow on the floor. It's hard to see there. If I move perfect, sort of down to there, should be a bit more apparent. Yeah, you can see now. There is some minor shadows, but I've found from my experiences not going to be great shadows. But it'll do for the sake of, just enable a few settings, turn a few things down, a few things up. And I've got a fairly even lighting scheme going on. This is mostly fine for just something that's sort of going to sit in the center of the screen. running set up for your final productions and stuff, so try not to rely on this too much. I'll show you how to get the camera just to move in a circle around the object. Some people like to rotate the object instead of the camera, which in some situations is fine, but then generally you want to rotate the lighting with it and everything, and it starts to get a bit weird. So I found if you just rotate the camera, then none of the lighting has to move, none of anything has to get overly complicated. It's a fairly simple setup. There's two things you're going to want to add. First, add in a circle curve. Scale that up to the sort of distance you want the camera to be, which the sort of distance is at now is about right. And then move it up so it's not straight off the ground, and then add in an empty. And we'll select empty. So objects going on. I'll just hide those two there. So the empty, then the camera, then Control Shift C and down to track. So now the camera is constantly pointing at that empty. But if you go to the object constraints here, just set it to -Z. That should be fine. And as you move the camera around, you see it always points at the empty, which is cool. And then we've select the circle, select the camera, then the circle, and Control P, select follow path. Now the camera's got off in some weird place. So I'll just, with the camera selected, do an Alt G so it's sort of closer to where I need it to be. And then with the circle selected, down to edit mode, and you see this dotted line pointing to the circle. Select the sort of control point that's the dotted line is pointing to, and go Shift S, cursor to selected, and then tab out of edit mode, select the camera, Shift S, select the cursor, and it should, if the camera rotates around in a circle, almost then, just get rid of the script a bit. We'll just quickly redo with a new camera. I think it's the easiest way to solve that. Just at the center. Shift A, edit camera. Make sure all the transforms are cleared on that. Excuse me. See, it's not the same. Obviously works. So now that's pointed the wrong way, so I'll just go 180. And there we go. Excuse me. That seems to be working fine. Now if you want to adjust the amount of time that's going on with the camera, for how long it takes to go around the circle, just select the curve and then go into curve options here. And you see all these settings are fine. The frames is the amount of time it takes for the camera to go around. So in 100 frames, as you see there, it's gone all the way around in a full circle. So turn that to 200 if you want. Now it's halfway around at 100, all the way around at 200. That's just a sort of how long you need it to be question. And then the final tip is getting a nice material on your object, which I hid, so I'll go H on that. And the object, you want a material that sort of shows off the details and everything, along with all the lighting that you've got. And I've found the best way to do that is using matte caps from ZBrush. It's sort of a technique that imitates matte caps from ZBrush. And the first thing you got to do is get the actual matte cap. So what you can do is go to the Pixologic website, which is from ZBrush, and go to their matte cap library. And here you can sort of come up, pick out a matte cap that you like. There's a whole bunch of types down here. I've just sort of come into here. And as you select them, if it works properly, there we go. You can go through and see a sphere of how the material looks, and see it on this weird Morphin sort of guy. And what you need to do is take a screen cap of this sphere and then save it into a square material. So that one can probably go about 200 by 200 pixels or something. I haven't used this specific one for my demonstration, but just make sure it's in a square, and keep the square sort of as small as possible, as close to the edges of the circle as it can. It's easiest to do that in GIMP or Photoshop or something. And then once you got that done, add a material to the monkey, and then we'll add a texture, and bring in the matte cap. That's on my desktop somewhere. Yeah. So that's the one that I've got. I believe everything should be fine. Pre-multiply you might want to turn on, just for the mapping, turn it to normal. And in the material, you just want to set it to shadeless. And you can preview the effect in the display with Textural and GLSL, sorry. And you can see the effect working there. Looks quite nice. Sort of sorts everything out. Perfect. So just go back to normal object mode, and then you can pick a frame that you like. Go to render. This cool looking monkey. That's about the end of everything. Hopefully you found this to be a useful tutorial. Please let me know if there's anything you need help with, or if you like the tutorial or anything like that. If you'd like to make any tutorial requests, please go ahead and leave something in the comments. I suppose until next week, good luck and have fun.